Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migration to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to our channel and also turn on the little bell on side. So once we have all the update and inside news, you'll be the first one of getting all the information. Now, today's video, I would like to discuss a news article came out recently, only these few days. It's very interesting. It's talking about the current Australian government and how the government of Morrison had done a U-turn, actually a turnaround. The whole immigration pathway and plan has been all turned all around the other side. Now, the reason why the article is talking about this is basically if you have been following my channel for the past 2 years, the government of Australia was to cut down the migration intake 2 years ago, and in conjunctions, and they also had raised the criteria for employer-sponsored application and also for the skilled migrants, whereby as you have experienced, and a lot of people, all of you might have experienced, all your friends had experienced backlog, or perhaps you've been putting on a queue waiting for so long, or perhaps you have been waiting for invitation forever somehow, and it's all caused by all these plan where the government of Australia had done 2 or 3 years ago. Unfortunately, what happened in 2020 is that the COVID-19 hit as a century pandemic happening all around the world, and obviously in the southern hemisphere as a nation of Australia had suffered badly and suffer economically with a negative impact. So let's have a look what this article and news actually talking about. Okay, so you can find this in the Independent Australia, where if you Google it with the topic of Morrison forthcoming U-turn on migration, you can see that it's actually written by Abu Rizvi, who is very renowned in the migration sector or industry in Australia. And as you can see that this was published only yesterday, 22nd of March, in the afternoon, 3:30. So there has been a few comments there. The comic here is basically drawn on the previous Minister of Immigration, who is the current Minister of Home Affairs, Peter Dunn, who was thinking about Manu's Island was the island used to detain all the illegal migrants or illegal arrivals, and now they have put the barbed wire all around Australia. Now obviously, if you know, when the COVID hit Australia, the government of Australia basically asked all the temporary visa holder to exit Australia, and then obviously put on an international travel ban, and that's how this comic is actually reflecting with. So what's happening here? So basically the topic here is Prime Minister Scott Morrison and his party now acknowledge that migration is crucial, as I have pointed out with last week's news, to the economic growth and prosperity. So what had happened in the past years, back 5 or 6 years, that the political due to the elections, the government of Australia has Liberal Party has been raising the issue in regards that migrants has been contributing to the congestion of the major cities. So they wanted to decrease the number of migrants into Australia. However, was it just a political view in order to actually win the votes and win the poll? Now it becomes very of issues at the moment. It was a debate, but however, after all the temporary migrants have exited out of the Australia in 2020. If you're still living in Melbourne or Sydney, do you still experience congestions in traffic? I believe that the answer there is still yes. So the problem doesn't lie on the temporary visa holder or migrants in contributing to the congestions. It might be that the government should put more efforts in contributing into public transport, public infrastructure in order to enhance the cities and things and transportations. So that anyway, that's a political debate. I'm not going to go in there, but I'm here to actually read out the information and news about this. So after telling temporary entrants to go home, so that was last year, 12 months ago, cutting migration program sitting by 30,000 per annum. So what had happened is, due to the COVID, they can't even meet 100,000 migrants for this year, this particular year, 2020 and 21. Again here, busting congestions. That's what I have there. Explained as part of 2019 pre-election population plan. So it may seem as a propaganda back then, but now we're facing the real problem at the moment. So at the end of this video, I'll provide a summary of how I think and how I feel of the actual migration plan will go for the government of Australia. So stay tuned until the very end. Scott Morrison now says that we must overhaul temporary migration post-COVID to fill rapid emerging skill shortage. So the Minister of Immigration currently, who is Alex Hawke, is saying that convinced that migration program will be a huge part of how we recover from COVID. So Treasurer Josh Frydenberg says Australia has the opportunity to attract some of the most skilled and highly qualified individuals across the world. And with no reference to Prime Minister telling temporary entrant to go home, that was last year, or cutting immigration or busting congestion, that was 2019. So you see, that's the reason why the topic of this news article was called U-Turn and how this will go. Australia needs to replace skilled migrants that left our shores. As a result of the pandemic, without return of skilled migration, Australian economy recovery will be severely hampered, and it will be hard to create more jobs for Australians. So why the U-turn? Here we go. Okay, no one believed that congestion had been busted. Okay, so it's still there. By the recent lockdown or cutting migration program, 30,000 per annum will bust the congestion. That was just Scott Morrison's making up the rationale for Dutton's earlier cut the program, as well as a bit of convenient dog whistling. Here we go. Okay, and that explains a bit. So because years ago I suspect that long time ago, but I'm not a politician. I'm not here to debate and to win polls and votes. But now my comment back then looks like it's a reality now. So and let's read on. If immigration is now be increased, how will that be done? I mean, if they can create congestion, why are you asking for more people to come? Okay, we have already a lot of people exit out, but there's still congestion there. Should we suggest that more people should be exiting out of big city or large cities, or we need to vacate to get the Sydney-siders to vacate from the city of CBD? Okay, should that be the way to do it? Again, there's a great potential for government to make a mess of this, especially if they're done at the same time. Department of Home Affairs implementing major IT upgrades. So again, they are doing some upgrade, and that's causing a lot of problems, a lot of delays. A lot of people come and inquire, why is my application taking so long? My client also asked the same question. I said, I have no idea. There has been a COVID, there has been a shortage of human resources, and there is. In the midst of that, they are doing some major IT upgrade as well. So there's a High Wire Act Secretary Mike Pezzullo, who is really more suited for managing uniform and guns than complex immigration policy. That's another comment, not from me, but from the writer here. They are likely 5 main driven drivers of why Morrison government proposing increasing immigration. So here are the major issues here. So first of all is the ongoing employee anger at the change of Peter Dutton's made in 2017 employer sponsored migrations. Well, back then what happened, Peter Dutton had actually cut a lot of sponsorship, and they put a major delay. A lot of these 186 and 187 visa application had been delayed, prolonged for 2 years plus with no resolutions. So if you're a employer, especially if you're a regional, you need people to go there, and the government of Australia telling you that hold there, just wait for 2 years. We'll get the employment per employee a visa and wait for 2 years. No one's gonna take it. And same as the skilled employees. If your boss is telling you that the government of Australia is telling us that your visa will be finalized in 2 years, will you still take the job? Of course not. No one's gonna do it. So that was the first trigger. And the recommendation of Royal Commission Aged Care will require, due to obviously the aging population and also COVID, we need more people there as well. We need more people to deliver for the health and aged care services, and also the pressure from agriculture and the tourism, especially post-pandemic. Look at what happened to last year, and currently at the moment, the tourism industry is completely dead. I'm not too sure how the domestic grant of the travel grants that the government of Australia had done for the past weeks did actually boost the industry. Still a question mark. However, it still relies on international tourism. When the international tourists will come back, and the pressure from university again, the international education sector has been hit. It's an enormous hit. It's devastating. And lost jobs. Well, what I've known, most of my friends who are in the education sector, they already lost their job. Especially when they finished the JobKeeper program by the end of March, they all lost the jobs. A shortfall revenue of the student government decision not to grant university access to JobKeepers. Again, that's another major stuff, and likely advise the Treasurer further aged Australian population over the next 10 to 20 years will make high rate of real economic growth impossible to deliver. So that again, that's the major thing. So two things that they're talking about, this article is talking about here, is first of all is the employer sponsor migration. So after GFC, Australia did recover, not bad. So rise on unemployment in 2014, and also the decline in 2017 and 18. Short recovery back in 2018 and 19, that due to backlog clearance, increased application, and decline continued in 2019 and continued to fall in 2020 and 21. So if you can look at the graph here, it's actually very bad. We're actually at the point where we have hit the lower lows. Okay, so it's less than what we have done, the nation of Australia had done compared to 2009 or 2005. Okay, while he will not say so, recommendation in Julian Lee's committee is designed to undo the change opinion done as May. The Australian Migration Temporary Entry Arrangement over the decade can attest the employers seeking to fill genuine skill shortage are mainly interested in speed and flexibility and certainty. Again, so that's the major issue here. So obviously, I don't think just the nation of Australia, but every nation or every employer, every business owners, if they want to hire someone, they want them to start working right now. They can't wait for 6 months. I've done a TSS 482 visa, which had prolonged for more than 6 months. I don't know how an employer will actually accept such procedures. That's just too slow. Okay, the speed is a problem. Flexibility, you cannot have a fixed way, and that goes across all different industries, and especially with the program like Dharma. It may sound very attractive, but in actual process-wise, getting a Dharma a sponsorship or agreement done, it's another complex stuff. I mean, a general small medium-sized business will not be able to actually do it by themselves. So and the certainties. Okay, so that's another issue. The government told us that publish the information that you can do this and do that, but once you lodge the visa application, for example, I recently experienced a Japanese sushi restaurant. they're genuine restaurants making money, and they want to hire a chef, okay, and they get rejected. Now the uncertainty is there. Now, how would a restaurant owner looking for a skilled person and nominate the position be rejected? That's just uncertainty there. Okay, how would that be? If that's the case, who will ever utilize the program anymore? So that's another problem. So they don't want to mess the kinds of bureaucracy delay being done and specialism. So that's what we had to talk about. If you've been through those years, you exactly know what I'm saying, exactly know how this article is pinpointing the actual issue here. Okay, so undercut job opportunities and things. These are the things that the government of Australia was saying that there has been potential fraud, undercut opportunities, and suppressive wages and things like that. Now, look, that exists. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but that's just for a very small number of employers out there. So, again, are you designing a system to actually assist the Australian employer, assist Australian businesses, or are you getting too strict to actually not even help but creating problem to the industry? So that's another thing there. Now, moving on, I'm not going to go all the way here, but again, the other sector is the agriculture international tourism industry. As you can see, there has been a lot of numbers dropping, and I don't think this is hard to actually explain, but the graph is horrible. It's horrifying. Look at the graph. We used to have these numbers working on the makers. They can actually assist the agricultural industry, or perhaps the international tourism industry. Now they dropped all the way down. This is like jumping off the cliff. It's crazy. Now, obviously, the agricultural sector is panicking because there's no one work, and there has been a traumatic issue there. There's been lobbying. The farm lobby wants further deregulation and creation of U.S.-style agricultural visa. So again, they've been described as a slavery. But I mean, how would a government put in a system to actually help the industry? I think this is a major stuff that the Australian government, especially Department of Immigration, required to get it done. So around 100,000 have been brought to Australia under this arrangement, while their asylum application decided primary stage at AAT. So again, these people's uncertainties there. You want people came and you don't grant them the visa and got them into AAT, which is the appealing process of the visa being refused, and then have work rights. Currently around 25,000 refused asylum seekers. So these are all the issues as a scam developed under Dutton and Pezzolo watched. It's unlikely they will support amnesty, preferring continuing sweep the issue under carpet. So again, what this whole article is actually describing is the current immigration or the current Morrison government has been acting like the police. They're sweeping out a lot of things, but what's happening there, it's actually killing the sector as well, especially when pandemic hit. Are they still going to do that? Because a lot of people cannot even survive anymore. A lot of businesses cannot even survive anymore. They should be out there to relax the law and help the nation of Australia. So Treasury advisor on them overseas migration. That again, it's not news anymore because they came out since October last year announcing a lot of stuff. So funds and things are gonna come back to the sector. So at the end of this video, I'm gonna provide you now the summary of what I think and what I predict in the future. So in mid 2020, as I saw the pandemic and happening around the world, as a function of Department of Immigration, if you look at the historic patterns, how Australia's government utilized immigration to assist the economy back in 2008 and 1998, where the Asian crisis, and 2008 was GFC. Australia will always, as a nation, will always utilize immigration as equipment or tool, should I say, to facilitate the growth and assistance on economic growth by means of opening up the doors, allowing more skilled migrants and business migrants to actually come into Australia. So we can see the sign here. Now, the Liberal government, the current government, had noticed the major issues out there. Now, the U-turn might seem very bad on their face because that's what not they proposed 2 or 3 years ago. But obviously, a major event took place in 2020. So the U-turn may look very bad, but I believe it's the right thing to do. And it's an opportunity for all of you who are watching this video, who are interested in migrating to Australia. The opportunity is now opened. Now, when are these going to be implemented? I believe it will be very, very soon because in October 2020, the federal budget announcement did announce the increase of business migrants and increase of GTI skilled migrants. Now, they only opened up the door in January, February this year. Looks like the target cannot be met. So the further relax of regulation law criteria of any of these visas shall be done in order to facilitate the need of the economic growth. So it's a good sign. It's a good sign for migrants who are interested, who love the land of Australia. So if you do have that plan, I think the coming year, or coming second half of 2021 and 2022, all the way about 3 years will be the window of the best opportunity to migrate to Australia. Anyhow, what is your thoughts? Do you think the U-turn is correct, or do you think the U-turn is wrong? Why don't you leave a comment right down below and we'll chat in the comment section here. Thank you for watching. I see you next video. Goodbye.